It's time for the fourth episode in this SummerSlam rewatch. What's up, everyone? It's Denise Salcedo. As you guys all know, I'm dropping daily SummerSlam videos where I'm rewatching all of them from 1988 through 2023 and dropping little videos to talk about what went down, all in anticipation for SummerSlam 2024. Before we get to SummerSlam 1995 and 1996, it is time to climb the ladder and grab some Bluechew. Bluechew is a chewable tablet to help you perform better and longer in bed. With Bluechew, soon they'll be calling you the Heartbreak Kid because you'll always leave them wanting more. For all the details, check out the link in the description box below. Now, let's kick things off with the highlights from 1995 SummerSlam. Starting off with Hakushi defeating the 1-2-3 Kid. So, on our last episode, I talked a whole lot about the 1-2-3 Kid and how I still feel that if he came around today, people would be instantly like fan favorite right there because the 1-2-3 Kid was doing real cool shit. But so was Hakushi. So this match with Hakushi and 1-2-3 Kid, I think is a match that a lot of people talk about, especially when you talk about the 1-2-3 Kid's career. And so I have heard Shawn talk about this match a whole lot and what it kind of meant to him during this time in his career. So it's always cool to go back and rewatch this. This is another match that, of course, I had seen numerous times, having worked alongside Sean Waltman. And so watching this again, always very, very dear to my heart. This was probably one of the best matches of the night, even though it was very quick. It just had some real cool moments in this. I mean, at one point, like even today, if you see anybody do this, like you're still going to react to it. And it was the moment where Hakushi, he did this cartwheel into a backflip to the outside on the 1-2-3 Kid. And it just looked really great, guys. Like I can't even explain it. It looked great in 1995 and it looks great even watching it today in 2024. Shortly after, the 1-2-3 Kid hits a frog splash. He is still defeated by Hakushi. And when this match was over, I was like, damn, I want more even to this day. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeating Bob Holly. There are two things that I will never be able to get over this. Like, I will never be able to get over the fact that Hunter Hearst Helmsley, that was his character, that guy would go on to become the Game, the King of Kings, and then soon to be head of creative of WWE. Like, God, can you imagine if you would have told a fan during that time everything that Triple H would eventually do in the business? It's freaking crazy when you think about it. And it was Hunter Hearst Helmsley character was super lame. Sorry. As you guys know, I'm definitely a fan of Triple H, but definitely not the Hunter Hearst Helmsley version of it all. The other thing, and I want to say, I don't know if it was Bob Holly himself. I don't know if it was a family member of his. I don't know if it was Vince McMahon. I have no idea whoever told him to change his look, get rid of that big brown hair of his that he had, and go the way that we ended up seeing him with the beach blonde short hair. Whoever made that decision for him, brilliant, because he looks so old. He looks so old with the brown hair. Like, it doesn't even look like the same person. It did not even look like the same person. So I'm just glad that change was made. Either way, this match was very, very simple. Not too much to talk about, but Triple H gets the victory with his pedigree. We had Bertha Faye defeat Alundra Blaze and become the WWF Women's Champion. The only thing I want to say about this is that I almost feel like Alundra Blaze came around in the wrong era, at a time where they really didn't care too much about women's wrestling. And so I don't know. It's just one of the thoughts that I had while I was watching this show. Like, imagine how much different it would have been had she came around during a time where they really did care about women's wrestling. The next item on the show that I want to talk about is the Undertaker defeating Kama. As you guys know, the Kama is the Godfather before the Godfather was the Godfather. The Kama gimmick, I hated it because he was supposed to be the supreme fighting machine, which was their take on what a UFC fighter is. But they literally just put a big guy in a singlet and he did nothing MMA-esque whatsoever. The next highlight in the show that I have to talk about is Bret Hart defeating Isaac Yankem. As we all know, the former, before he was Kane, Isaac Yankem. One of the things that I find funny is, why did a bunch of 90s wrestlers have a bunch of other professions? Think about it. You had Bob Holly, who was a race car driver. You had Skip, who was a fitness instructor. You had Jeff Jarrett, who was a country singer. And you have Isaac Yankem, who was a dentist. And I'm sure you guys can fill in a bunch more that I didn't name right now. You can put them in the comments. Brett goes over the top rope and ends up getting stuck by his neck, so he's being choked. So Isaac ends up getting DQ'd for making it worse by not letting go and furthering the choke on Bret Hart with the ropes. Another highlight of the show, Shawn Michaels defeating Razor Ramon in a ladder match for the WWF Intercontinental title. This was their second ladder match together. Razor had won the first. We've talked about that in my WrestleMania Rewind. I could not stop laughing when at one point Shawn Michaels' tights get pulled down, so he moons like a whole side of the crowd, and all you hear is all of the girls screaming and then like a ton of flash photography. And so that part killed me. It really, really killed me. But as for the match itself, a fun match, definitely not nowhere near what their WrestleMania ladder match was like, but still a really good one, with Shawn Michaels getting the win and both babyfaces end up celebrating in the end. Another highlight of the show, Diesel defeating King Mabel for the WWF Championship. So the most interesting thing to me about this match is that this was unfortunately where Mabel ended up, I think, breaking the ribs of Diesel. And you can see it in this like spot where Kevin Nash is like face forward on the mat, and Mabel ends up sitting full body weight on the back of Diesel, and you see him hit, and the second you see him hit, you see Diesel's legs go up and he just like stops moving. He just stops moving. And of course, he finishes this match, but like even just watching like the last couple of minutes unfold after that spot and knowing that he got injured during that, oh, it was so painful to watch, because right after that, he tossed him into the turnbuckle and I'm just like, ouch. And then he body slammed him afterwards. And again, I'm like, ouch. So this was definitely painful to watch here. Also, another thing to note here is that Lex Luger tried helping out Diesel here because he was a babyface. And this ended up being Lex Luger's final televised appearance, because the next week he was on Nitro. Diesel hits a clothesline, gets the win. And that was pretty much what this was. Oh my God, I forgot to mention too, another kind of funny part was when King Mabel was making his entrance and he had four guys carrying him in a throne because he had just won the King of the Ring. And this was hilarious because the guys were struggling, like legit, to carry him. And then commentary was like, look at them, they're struggling to carry him. One guy looked like he was saying a couple of prayers while he was freaking trying to lift up King Mabel on that throne. So there you go. So best match of SummerSlam 1995, I'm giving it to Shawn Michaels defeating Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title. Worst match, I'm giving it to The Undertaker defeating Kama in that casket match. MVP, Shawn Michaels, due to the ladder match. And for the rating, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 13. Now let's go ahead and get into SummerSlam 1996. So one of the weird things that I noticed is that for some reason, the video quality was really bad on this one. It was really grainy and it just looks super old, even older than the older SummerSlam. So that really didn't make too much sense to me. I don't know what was going on there, but let's get into some of the highlights. We had Owen Hart defeating Savio Vega. And Savio Vega was a good worker. The crowd enjoyed it. I also thought he stood out during this era as well. Owen used the cast on Savio Vega, hit him. The referee didn't see it, and Owen wins with the sharpshooter. Moving on to the next highlight, Psycho Sid defeating the British Bulldog. He cut his hair. The British Bulldog cut his hair. I've been wondering, like, why did he choose to cut his hair? Because he had like this really long, beautiful curly hair, and then he comes out and he's looking like Superman right after that. He got the Superman haircut. That was something that I was like, why? What happened there? So if someone knows, please let me know in the comment section below. The one thing that I do want to say about this is that I didn't really think Psycho Sid was ever really any good, but he had a charm to him though. I think that crowds really just got into him each time, but I can't really put my finger on it as to like why, but it's there. Something is there that makes you interested in Psycho Sid. Also, poor Farouk, man. When they had him as Farouk Assad as a modern day gladiator, oh my gosh, that was like the worst gear I've ever seen in my life. Like he looked like kinky. I don't know how to say it. It made no sense. Like he looked like he was wearing a bikini with a gladiator hat. It just did not make sense. Like, why would you do this to him? Did not make sense at all. The next highlight of this night is Jerry the King Lawler defeating Jake the Snake Roberts. And I have to talk about this because, well, two things. One, love seeing Mark Henry go out there. He was on commentary. So it's so fun to see him there because, and it's so wild to think that I get to do a show with Mark Henry. And when you think of the age difference, it's crazy too. I was 4 years old during this, and Mark was already in the WWE. It's wild when you think about that. And I think he was like 25 years old at the time. So it's really, really nuts, honestly. But the feud itself was really messed up because we all know we've seen beyond the mat. Jake the Snake Roberts was a recovering alcoholic, right? And during this match, like the whole thing was about alcohol and him being a recovering alcoholic. And in the end, we see Jerry the King Lawler pour alcohol into his mouth. Oh my God. Like, this was hard to watch. This was hard to watch. I felt sad, especially just like knowing that he would fall back into that afterwards. So this was hard to watch. Of course, Mark Henry stands up for him and defends Jake the Snake Roberts against Jerry the King Lawler. But yeah, this was uncomfortable to watch. And then the other highlight was a broiler room match between Mankind and The Undertaker, the first of its kind. And that was just cool within itself. It's one of those matches that I think people look back fondly on because you did not see stuff like this too often back in the day. So I feel like there were two spots in particular that really had me like, oh shit. And the first one was Mankind falling off of the brown ladder in the back, and then he just like falls straight into cardboard. The second one is back in the ring on the ring apron. He ends up going back first into the concrete. So some nasty spots that Mankind took during this boiler room match. However, I did not really like the ending, and the ending just really felt unnatural because the ending was Paul Bearer turning on The Undertaker and siding with Mankind. And so that was awkward. I think the people didn't really know how to feel about it. Like, they didn't really seem to like it and they didn't really react to it. It just felt completely unnatural. Like, Paul Bearer, The Undertaker, that's just the way it should be. But of course, this leads to a whole match. We end up seeing the Buried Alive match. We see Paul Bearer manage Mankind, Vader, and then eventually this all leads into the introduction of Kane down the line. So a lot came of this. It just didn't feel like so great in the moment, though. And the main event of this match, Shawn Michaels defeating Vader. This would be Shawn Michaels' last SummerSlam that he actually wrestled on until his return in 2002, because next year's SummerSlam, which we'll talk about in another video, he's a referee in that SummerSlam. You can tell that Shawn gets mad at Vader during one spot because he's too far when he tries to do the elbow drop. So that was something that I picked up on this. When Vader went for the Vader salt, but Shawn moved out of the way, I was like, damn, because I kind of wanted to see him hit it. But Shawn hits a moonsault and he gets the win. A fun little matchup here, but you could notice some frustration on Shawn's part while wrestling Vader during this. But as for the ratings of this match, I'm still going to give this match the best match was Shawn Michaels defeating Vader for SummerSlam 1996. And then the worst, I got to give it to Jerry the King Lawler defeating Jake the Snake Roberts due to the alcohol portion of it. It was just wrong. And for MVP, I'm giving it to Mankind for those bumps that he took in the boiler room match. As for the rating, I gotta give it a 4 out of 13 because there wasn't too much on the show that necessarily wowed me. But there you go. Those are my reviews of SummerSlam 1995 and 1996. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give some love to our sponsors, Bluechew. The link is in the description box below. And I'll catch you back here tomorrow for another episode.